arrives early tomorrow morning. Thus, this is the autumnal equinox, a time when our Earth's days and nights are of equal length. From now until the winter solstice, the nights will continue to grow longer, the days ever shorter, as our planet tips away from our star. You've already noticed this happening. Mornings are darker later than they were a month ago. We can sleep in late and still catch the sunrise. And those sunsets, coming earlier each evening, they catch our attention with their vivid colors splashing against the clouds created by our weather patterns at this time of the year. It is a special time, a time made sacred by our paying attention to it. And when we thus pay attention on both personal and collective levels, we are connecting with all other humans throughout the history of our species. For we the people have always known that our very survival depends upon the light and heat of the sun. And we have reacted accordingly. We have created stories to explain the phenomenon of the sun rising in the east and setting in the west. We have created rituals to ensure that the sun won't go out altogether, that it will return after the winter solstice. Of course, in our era, we no longer literally believe that a God is carrying the sun across the sky in his chariot. We no longer even believe that the sun moves around the earth. Thanks to Copernicus, Kepler, Galileo, we know that the earth encircles the sun. And yet, we still speak as if it were otherwise. We say that the sun rises and sets. The sun doesn't rise and set. We do, sort of. Yet that knowing has not yet infiltrated our language. We do not have the words to describe the reality of living in a universe, in the Milky Way galaxy, in our solar system. It is in our heads, but it is not yet in our gut level experience. And thus we still act as though we are the center of the solar system. After all, we watch the sun rise on one side of our house and set through the windows at the other side of the house each day. Obviously, it's moving around us. I became acutely aware of this dilemma, this disparity, while taking care of my granddaughter Alex in South Carolina a couple of years ago on my Mondays off. I would drive down to Hilton Head Island on Sunday after church services in Charleston, and together Alex and I would watch the sun set in the evening and then rise again the next morning. Alex was just over a year old when I began my weekly visits, and that time between the age of 1 and 2 are truly magical. The human brain is growing in leaps and bounds with unbounded curiosity about the natural world. Everything is applied physics. For example, I brought her a small pumpkin one Sunday. She held it in her hands, examined it, and apparently made some connection with the size and shape of her rubber ball. And then she tried to bounce the pumpkin. Newton would have been so pleased. The look of astonishment on her face that it didn't bounce was priceless. She was putting her world together. And I had no words, no way to help her experience living in a cosmos. She would repeat my own words back to me. The sun comes up, the moon goes down, the sun goes down, the moon comes up. She would tell me, standing at the window, watching, naming, trying to understand what she was seeing. Human children are born some 12 years too soon, Joseph Campbell tells us, that it's to live by. And because we humans are not imprinted with what we need to know for our survival, we need a second womb in which to continue to grow our immature brains, a place of protection, a place for help while we learn the ropes, so to speak. Our families are this primary place, and our culture is the secondary place. It's kind of a whole backup system. So even if I could have imparted to Alex that the sun isn't rising, but that the earth is doing the moving, there would have been precious little in her preschool class that would have reinforced it. But why would that even matter? I'm hoping you are asking yourself by now. As I set forth into the introduction to this series, we need to cultivate a new consciousness, a universal consciousness for our new era. We can no longer afford intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, politically, and yes, economically, to keep living as though we are the center of the universe. We are hardwired to continually update our systems of thinking to reflect the cosmos's emergent awareness of itself. It is what we the people are here for, or so I believe. Yet how many of us in this room constructed our own worldviews before July 20th, 1969? So what happened on that date that changed our perspective of our planet forever, or should have? Let me put it this way, for those of you who haven't gotten it yet. Where were you and what were you doing the very moment that man first set foot on the moon? That will be one of the focus questions of our workshop after this morning's service, so you can start thinking about it now. More, what did you think, feel, experience during that amazing moment in human history that was one small step for man, one giant step for mankind? Now, for those of you who were not born by 1969, can you try to imagine a worldview without any images of the Earth seen from outer space, seen from the moon? Of course, those very first pictures of our precious blue-green jewel surrounded by the darkness of space had been bounced back to us the previous Christmas Eve during the first manned lunar orbit. The three astronauts beaming those pictures down to us chose to commemorate this amazing event by framing it in the only cosmology they knew. They read to us from the book of Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. Had these astronauts been from another culture, the story they would have used to exclaim what they were sharing could have been a different one. But our culture's major narrative framework is that of the Bible, and so it was that night. So let's stay with that one. But let us turn to Lewis Mumford's The Myth of the Machine, a book I first discovered when Alex's mother was a baby, and I was trying to help her put a world together in a more modern way. Let there be light. With those words, the story of man properly begins. All organic existence, not least man's, depends upon the sun and fluctuates with the sun's flares and spots, and with the Earth's cyclical relations to the sun, with all the changes of the weather and the seasons that accompany these events. Without his timely command of fire, man could hardly have survived the vicissitudes of the ice ages. His ability to think under these trying conditions may have depended upon his ability to remain quiet for long periods of time in a warm, enclosed space. The cave was man's first cloister.